So Bernie Sanders and AOC, two of the biggest phonies in politics. Two of the biggest phonies. Neither of them. She couldn't wait to come on my show, and then as soon as she got elected, never talked to me again. Never talked to Kyle Kulinski again. Well, that they will so they won't come on my show. No way. They won't go on black people's shows like Nick Cruz, the Revolutionary Blackout Network.
LOL, Nick Cruz.
They won't go on their show, but they'll go on this piece of show. This guy,
Hasan Piker?
Yeah, the guy who used
Why
to.
is he talk?
The guy who used to teach you how to rape women.
Huh?
Do you want to get into this Jimmy Dore video?
Yeah, let's go ahead and plow it. So we've teased it, right? I threw up the Rokada thing. Rokada we've been critical of, but it is nice to see him out getting crowds together, talking about how we need to fight back against the oligarchy. He was kind of simping for Elon's property destruction. We chastised him for that, but I do want to give him credit for also going out there and speaking out against the absolute insanity of Donald Trump's corruption. But yeah, it's the usual suspects when it comes to throwing cold water on any kind of movement building on the left, right? Like, oh, the purity police are going to come out and let the perfect be the enemy of the good, right? Like, a lot of people on the left want their ideas to be popular. Gavin and I, more than anything in the world, we want our sincere leftist values to become the political mainstream. We want everybody to be like, oh yeah, like healthcare, that is a human right. Like, oh, we should 100% protect the environment. Oh yeah, the profit motive, while acceptable in some capacities, is not the motivator for our entire life. We should also have democracy, all of these things, right? I would love it if that just became the benchmark of American society. We haven't gotten there yet. So I'm still holding out hope. Some people on the left, and again, as Gavin pointed out, they're the tanky fringe. They want the left to be like a punk rock show. They want the left to be fringe. They want it to make you counterculture. They want you to be different. And I'm edgy. Like, I'm not like the other people, man. I'm hardcore. And so whenever too many normies start embracing politics that they have, then they want to go ahead and run even further away from where regular people are at. And they want to start to poo-poo the fact that other people have arrived at where they once were. And they'll start to find any single flaw. They'll start to pull up obscure votes from 2018. They'll start to be like, look at this out of context quote where they gave a word salad answer instead of a full-throated endorsement of the thing I wanted, right? Doing politics. And I think Jimmy Dore is the perfect example of a guy who does that totally insincerely, but we still have to break it down because people fall for this shit all the time.
Yeah, let's take a look at what Bernie had to say about this. Yeah.
Oh, you mean Jimmy?
Oh, yeah, sorry, Jimmy Dore.
Sweet. All right, let's plow in.
So Bernie Sanders and AOC, two of the biggest phonies in politics. Two of the biggest phonies. Neither of them. She couldn't wait to come on my show, and then as soon as she got elected, never talked to me again. Never talked to Kyle Kulinski again. Never talked to anybody that was a true.
What about Sam Cedar?
Yeah, Kyle Kulinski, who you relentlessly bash and say is a faux leftist. Now you have some sort of concern. And I like how he gives away the game immediately. Like, we're, 34 seconds into this video. Part of it is him promoting his comedy tour. And then he just gives it away. He's like, AOC and Bernie won't come on my show. Yeah. When she was a congressperson that wasn't elected yet, she would come on my show. And now she doesn't want to come on my show.
Yeah. Left media. Or adversarial, right? So here, Bernie Sanders, the same thing. Bernie Sanders cucked Kyle Kulinski. Wouldn't even let Kyle Kulinski sit on his own show when he went to be interviewed. He would only be.
Hey, Gavin, remember when Kyle was like, Jimmy's not worth talking to. Let's have Hasan, a relevant streamer, on instead. And Jimmy had a fucking conniption fit on Twitter.
Yeah. Also, like, who really gives a fuck about? I mean, it was kind of funny that Bernie only wanted to talk to Crystal, but like, how is that relevant to this situation?
Be interviewed by ex-MSNBC host Crystal Ball, and made Bernie sit in the corner and watch him jizz all over his show.
He meant Kyle, but he said Bernie.
Being cucked by Bernie, I mean, the cuckery of that's
unbelievable.
Orders of magnitude ahead of anything I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
Bernie cucked you. Can you imagine?
So they tweet out a picture of them at
that guy's supposed to be a comedian. You would never know.
So now, before these people couldn't fill a gymnasium. Nobody would give a shit of what Bernie Sanders had to say. But now I was in Tempe last night, visited the same space 12 days before.
Also, when in the last 10 years has Bernie not been able to fill a gymnasium? Like, what are you talking about? Like, over the entire span of when Jimmy Dore would be relevant? Bernie could fill amphitheaters. Bernie could fill concert halls during the entire time when Jimmy Dore was still like an irrelevant jagoff comic. Bernie Sanders was a United States senator. Like, this guy is trying to imply to his audience that Jimmy Dore was somehow facilitating the launch pad for AOC and Bernie Sanders. Absolutely ridiculous.
For the 2024 election, he couldn't fill it. That Trump couldn't. They say he couldn't fill this. And now they're there and they filled it because it's pretend opposition. They don't oppose the oligarchy. They only oppose one sliver of it, the part of it that has Trump's face on it. That's all they're doing. So now they can pretend they're in opposition again. But when the oligarchy was Joe Biden and the military-industrial complex and Wall Street.
The person that Bernie ran against, like Bernie literally challenged Joe Biden. That was the whole point. Same with Hillary Clinton. He doesn't only fucking run against Republicans. Like Jimmy's completely forgetting the primary process and the fact that Bernie, he started out by criticizing the Democratic Party. It was only after he lost the primary that he decided, still probably better that these guys, these somewhat serious people are in charge of this fucking thing instead of fascist Republicans and people like Elon Musk. I mean, that was the decision he came to. But that's crazy.
And also, Gavin, I think the reason he wants to gloss over that is because he supported Tulsi freaking Gabbard over Bernie Sanders in 2020, who is now a fucking establishment cabinet goon for Donald freaking Trump as he does a fascist fucking takeover of our country.
And slaughtering Gazans and slaughtering people in Ukraine, and that they couldn't fill a closet. But now, since it's pretend and all these people are propagandized morons in the crowd, they think they're actually opposing something. They're not opposing anything. Bernie Sanders just did. He just signed on to the slaughter of Gazans. Same thing with AOC.
But hold on. Who do you think has the night?
Which is not what Bernie Sanders did. He signed on to a resolution that had unanimous support in the Senate. I disagreed with it. I think that he should have opposed it. But what it did was it said that the United States would not accept Hamas as the Palestinian government. Okay? That's not the same thing as saying that he wants them to turn back on the genocide machine. In fact, in this exact rally, Bernie Sanders comes out and says we should stop sending weapons to Israel in the exact rally that Jimmy's talking about right here.
Yeah, and according to Hasan, that actually elicited the largest reaction from the crowd when he said we have to cut off money to the genocidal government of Israel. That got the biggest reaction. So these people do give a fuck about this stuff. In addition to all the domestic issues, which we just heard Greg Cesar talking about how we got to stand up and fight, when they come for your Social Security, when they come for schools, when they come for the veterans and the benefits that we all have earned in this country. We're going to fight back. So I just don't even understand this line of argument from Jimmy that it's just a virtue signal. Like they don't actually care about fighting back against the oligarchy. Again, say what you want about Bernie. I have some criticisms of the guy, same with AOC, but they have been pretty specific about what they're fighting against. And it seems like the people in the crowds there are pretty animated, and they also seem to understand what they're fighting against or what they want to be fought against. So, again, if you have an issue with the things they're fighting against, the things that we just mentioned, the cutting of Social Security, the destruction of so many important agencies that keep our government running. If you're for those things, then just make that case, Jimmy. But I don't really see what this virtue signaling is, where you're just going to say, oh, these brainwashed morons in the crowd, right? No, they're clearly there for specific reasons.
Yeah.
Nicer ass in that picture. Honestly, I think they both need some work.
Brianna Joy Gray was Bernie Sanders' press secretary when he ran for president last time.
Yeah. Bernie's also not answering her calls, if you're curious.
She tweeted this out. And she said, this is going to seem so sinister when they tell these people to vote for oligarchs in 2028, just like they did in 2020 and 2024. They couldn't wait to vote for Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House. They wouldn't even use their leverage then.
Yeah, and what's crazy is that Jimmy Dore will come out here like this, and he'll pretend that he's attacking Bernie Sanders from the left. He'll pretend that all of his concerns with Bernie Sanders and AOC are that he is a leftist. But in reality, it's that his whole job is making leftists comfortable with Donald Trump and fascism, right? That's what he decided to do. Look at this clip right here, everyone. This is a clip of Jimmy Dore saying Joe Biden is a bigger fascist than Donald Trump, and I'll debate anybody on that. That's just a fact. He's a worse president than Donald Trump. And again, by any metric, he is worse. Okay. That obviously aged like milk. This man shredding our Constitution before our very eyes. I don't know what his argument would have been for that, because there were many people, Kyle Kulinski, Sam Cedar, others, ourselves, who saw that tweet when it came out, and we were like, we're happy to debate you that Joe Biden is far less fascist than Donald Trump by any freaking metric. Then you have this over here from Jimmy Dore, where he says, Jimmy Dore claims that Elon Musk did not make a Nazi salute at Trump's inauguration because he's a, quote, an autistic guy who gets overwhelmed with emotion. And he says, I'm giving you my heart. So he's perfectly happy to, dismiss any, concerns of fascism when they're coming from the right. And we finally get a good answer as to why. He wants Donald Trump's tax cuts because Jimmy Dore is a rich guy. Jimmy Dore supports Trump getting rid of the income tax and funding the government with tariffs. Quote, I'd be willing to pay more for stuff if they got rid of income tax. No shit, you're a millionaire. He is appealing to you. So this is the guy really who's so far to the left that he can't even be moved by AOC and Bernie Sanders because they're not pure enough for him, but he'll constantly run cover for Donald Trump. This guy doesn't believe in climate change anymore, but we're supposed to take his word for it that he's really looking out for the working man, and he doesn't want them to get duped by Bernie Sanders again.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's also worth pointing out that, Jimmy has obviously been railing against the duopoly for a long time now. But it really only seems like he has an issue with the Democrats, because when RFK Jr. was running around the country pretending to be an independent, running for president as an independent, and then ultimately just endorsed Donald Trump, I don't remember Jimmy Dore getting outraged by that sheep herding. Because that's exactly what it was. It was the literal sheep herding that he accused Bernie Sanders of having done for years. Except for RFK took it even a step further by actually declaring himself to be an independent, only to then ultimately endorse the Republican Party. And yeah, sheep herd his movement of idiots right back into the Republican Party. And again, Jimmy had nothing to say about it. Jimmy cheerled that. The whole time he acted like RFK was some genius and constantly retweeted him, right? Had him on the show. So, I mean, even if you do have this issue, you're not principled with it. You would be just as mad at RFK Jr. for being a sheep herder and a sellout as you are at Bernie, but you're not. I wonder why.
Yeah.
Why is anybody showing up to a rally after that pathetic loss? And is that what it is, to get everybody's spirit? Who would go to this?
But
Who would go to this?
Here's the
people who are actually on the left who don't like Donald Trump, you fucking imbecile.
That they will so they won't come on my show. No way. They won't go on black people's shows like Nick Cruz, the Revolutionary Blackout Network.
LOL, Nick Cruz. That's the only black guy you can reference in all of media. Some dude that has like 40,000 YouTube subs that goes around here talking about how he's going to make it his mission in life to make sure AOC loses.
They won't go on their show, but they'll go on this piece of shit show. This guy,
Hasan Piker?
Yeah, the guy who used
Why
to.
Is he
the guy who used to teach you how to rape women.
What is that in reference to?
I have no idea. I remember Hasan used to have a somewhat controversial segment that he ended up getting rid of, where he would kind of do like a hot or not segment, like kind of rate women out of 10 or something. I know that was a long time ago, but I don't even know what the fuck he's talking about with the rape.
Yeah, this is just clear projection. I think he's still really salty about the fact that Kyle and Crystal dropped him one time and put on Hasan Piker instead on the exact same interview.
A revolution.
No, it's just the implications.
Nick Cruz says Bernie Sanders voted for a Lindsey Graham resolution pledging support for Israel forever.
That is not true.
While they commit a genocide against Palestinians and invade their neighbors. AOC and Bernie voted to fund the Ukraine proxy war and arm literal Nazis in Ukraine. Meanwhile, here is Hasan Piker attempting to rehabilitate them.
What's also hysterical, Gavin, is that those same folks were funded by Donald Trump, too. They never complain about it when Donald Trump funds those people. Donald Trump sent anti-tank missiles to the Azov battalion, which Jimmy Dore cries and cries and cries about all the time, unless Donald Trump does it.
Pathetic, shameless sheepdog and shill for the Democratic Party. The fact that the left listens to this guy is exactly why we are effed.
No one listens to that guy. The silly upper middle class chicks that want to bang him listen to him.
Yeah.
No,
Also,
and gay guys.
like, this is so fucking stupid. Like, Hasan is actually far more principled on the issue of Palestine and Israel than RFK is. But you'll have RFK on and hype him up and celebrate him and act like he's anti-war. Meanwhile, Hasan, who actually does give a fuck about that issue and is very hard line, not just on that, but also Ukraine. He's taken a lot of heat from the more like, Dylan Burns, shit lib elements of the Twitch progressive audience for that. He's never been someone out here just like constantly advocating for the funding of Ukraine. And like I said, he's probably the single best voice in the left-wing media space when it comes to, standing up for Palestine and criticizing Israel. So I don't even know who they're talking about. They're acting like they're just talking about like Harry Sisson or something when Hasan's actually pretty radical compared to your average Democratic voter.
Yeah, this guy looks like he has his head is shaped like a micro penis, but the guy tried to groom it to look bigger.
That are into him.
But look, there was a stadium of people. There was a stadium of people filled to listen to these two morons, these two charlatans, and that's what Bernie is. He's a charlatan, and that's what AOC is. And we've exposed AOC and Bernie a million times in a million ways this Sunday. They are not true lefties. They're not fighting for you. They don't represent anything except their oligarch overlords. Okay, they're just pretending.
Two candidates who famously take zero super PAC money. Two people who have rejected any APAC money, right? And Bernie Sanders has never done ad reads. Jimmy Dore, he used to talk about how one of the things he really respected about Bernie Sanders is that he doesn't, take any corporate money. And Jimmy Dore used to say he believed that if you really were about your political values, you would refuse to do ad reads, right? That's one of the things Gavin and I, to this day, we still always talk about. Inspired by Bernie Sanders, we refuse to do ad reads. That was a very common thing amongst the Bernie bros. Now, Jimmy Dore is out here hawking gold and silver. He's out here hawking all kinds of different weird supplements, all kinds of horse shit, okay? So Hasan Piker doesn't do any ads. He refused $1 million from Polymarket. And then you've got Jimmy Dore, who's going to tell you to invest your money in gold after this segment's over.
And gets paid from Rumble. Let's not forget about that. I mean, ads aside, even the Majority Report does ads, but Jimmy's literally on Rumble getting paid by right-wing propagandists to make right-wing propaganda. That's what Rumble is. It's just a big money funnel for right-wing hacks.
True. And they even gave him that one fucking show that was supposed to be a competitor for Bill Maher.
I haven't heard much about that lately. I feel like it probably got canceled.
To keep this two-party fight going. Because why? Because that keeps people fighting each other so we don't come together and fight against the people who they serve. Say he serves them, and she serves them.
This guy endorsed Tulsi Gabbard, who is now working quite literally in the cabinet for Donald Trump. So the people he supports are literally in the cabinet right now serving the oligarchs. Okay, that's what Jimmy constantly charitably to himself leaves out. RFK, somebody else he cheerled constantly, literally in Donald Trump's cabinet. So the people that AOC and Bernie Sanders are fighting, that oligarchy, are the people that the people that Jimmy Dore supported constantly at all levels throughout the last 2 election cycles, Tulsi Gabbard and RFKJ.
Also, we have to keep in mind that in the most recent election cycle, Jimmy Dore didn't even support a third-party candidate. Remember, he yelled at Cornel West, he disrespected Cornel West, and then he had Jill Stein on and accused her of being a planned or some sort of a psyop, right? Nothing is good enough for this guy except for fucking Republicans. You might as well just admit, though, that you are a Republican. Because who the fuck do you really think you're going to convince that AOC and Bernie are more beholden to the oligarchy than Donald Trump and Elon Musk, who is the oligarch controlling Donald Trump? That's crazy. That's fucking crazy. Again, you can criticize Bernie Sanders, but you're just making shit up.
Oh, yeah. He literally came out here and said people had no choice but to vote for Donald Trump. That was his message. That's basically an endorsement of Donald Trump, if you ask me. If you're not supporting any other candidate, you say people have no choice but to vote for Donald Trump. Yeah, you are laundering his reputation for your audience. You're making it okay and acceptable for those people to go out and pull the lever for Donald Trump. And then you want to come back and act like you have any leftist street cred at all. It's crazy.
Yeah, and this whole fucking video is such a great representation of why I don't take this crowd seriously at all anymore, right? The Nick Cruzes, who, as you mentioned, Zach, let's take a look at his statement on this. I wonder why Bernie wouldn't want to go on this guy's show. If AOC runs for the president in 2028, I will make it my mission to tank her candidacy. This is the same guy that would repeatedly tweet shit like, oh, as soon as Kamala Harris loses to Donald Trump, I'm going to laugh so much. I'm going to celebrate and drink the liberal tears, right? So that's what he stands for. And then you got Jimmy Dore, who's drunk as fuck, can't even, get through a sentence without telling a million fucking lies. You have Brianna Joy Gray, who's trying to be like, oh, I'm gonna faux intellectualize this dumb fucking bullshit position and act like, oh, I'm so smart. Like, let me put it in like big words and make it sound all, smart. I'm not a dumb drunkard piece of shit like Jimmy, but I have the same politics. Like, no, it's not worth engaging, and it's just stupid. It's fucking stupid. These aren't even real criticisms. So people saying that Bernie Sanders loves genocide or whatever, like, you're just fucking stupid. You're just, that's not even worth taking seriously or arguing with.
Not only that, but if they're always the people who, want to be like, I'm only interested in Jill Stein or Republicans, right? They want to constantly talk about how Bernie Sanders didn't win in the primaries he ran in, but they never want to talk about how piss poor their candidate did. You literally supported a third party candidate that had no chance of winning in the face of fucking fascism, right? You know what I mean? So I'm sorry, but I'm not really interested in your level of risk analysis right now. Okay, you were like, I know this person has no chance. I'm going to support them to feel self-righteous. And then I'm going to turn around and scold everybody because the candidates I support never get elected, never have to make a hard decision. And so I can always have the moral high ground because I never actually had to participate in political discourse. I only came there after the fact and gave my post hoc Proctor Hawk shit.
And they're there to keep us fighting each other so we don't come together and actually have a movement that challenges the establishment. That's what this is about. That's why Bernie's a piece of shit. That's why AOC is a transparent phony. And that's why this guy's a sheepdog for the oligarchy. And it's clear.
And again, the man that told you to vote for Donald J. Trump endorsed RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard from the chair he's sitting in now, wants to tell you that Hasan Piker is a sheepdog for the oligarchy. It's just absurd.
Nick nails it. These people are voting to fund Nazis, voting to fund the military-industrial complex, voting to fund Zionism. That's what these people are. And he's the sheepdog for them. And just to let, so that's what's happening. So this is a big bullshit tour, and don't fall for it. I mean, it's lit.
Don't fall for it. Just support Donald Trump. RFK is going to go after Anthony Fauci, and no more ouchies. And then the woke mind virus is going to get killed. And also, again, it's just insane for this guy to pretend that he cares about, oh, there's Nazis in Ukraine that are getting weapons. It's like, we have Nazis in our government at home and you're supporting them, dog.
And that guy's the fucking richest man in the world. Jimmy Dore's acting like fucking Hasan and AOC and Bernie are oligarch bootlickers. Elon Musk is the #1 oligarch in not just this country, but the entire fucking world. He is the definition of an oligarch. He literally bought the election. He was Trump's #1 campaign donor, and now he's running the fucking show. So Nazism aside, even if you just care about oligarchy as much as Jimmy Dore claims to, you would be freaking out. You would be spending every minute of every show calling out Donald Trump for being the most oligarch-owned politician in American history. It's not even close.